doing it from my phone once again. Um, just have a few things to speak on. I know there's a World Cup game going on between Belgium and Egypt. Between the last time I checked, Belgium were up 1-0. And one of the more surprising score lines, I guess you can say, even though yesterday Sweden beat Tunisia 5-1, and the Tunisian manager got sacked literally right after the game. Now, I haven't really seen the highlights of that game. I didn't watch it, but there's a few things here I want to talk about. You know, I've seen this take from Alex Goldberg earlier in regards to Enzo Fernandez. I know I speak on the brother a lot. As of right now, he's still a Chelsea player. I still say it's a 50-50 chance that he'll be at the club. Given everything that we've seen, Mark Cucurella is now set to go to Real Madrid. That's been confirmed not only by the journalists but by the club itself. Real Madrid announced the signing of Marc Cucurella, and now Spain finally have a Real Madrid player in their squad after not having one selected for the World Cup squad. And Spain drew 0-0 today, where I have Spain winning the entire thing, but that was just based off of how I feel like the squad is and how I feel like they can actually dominate the ball and create chances. But when you don't have a center forward that is able to convert chances, which is Spain's problem, they're going to find it very poor, and you're going to probably see a lot of their games be 0-0, 1-0, or even them losing a game, right? But getting back to Fernandez, right? There's a take from Alex Goldberg that I need to talk about here. He's talking about loyalty within clubs nowadays, and players need to be loyal to a club. His take specifically was that where's the loyalty from Enzo Fernandez and how he should be loyal to the club that essentially has boosted his career, and now you're seeing him being linked with moves to City, PSG, Real Madrid. This is my thing, and Matisse also touched on it, is that why does he need to be loyal to a club that hasn't been ambitious enough to actually match what he wants? Right? Like, the problem with that take when it comes to loyalty is that you don't need to be loyal to a club. If the player feels like the ambition isn't there from the club, then they're not going to sit here and waste their career and not win anything. Yes, he won silverware in 24-25. We understand that, but this past season, we saw Chelsea have its worst season since the 22-23 season, and you can make an argument it was worse than that. Yeah, they finished 12th in 22-23, but the way that this team looked generally has been horrific. It was bad, right? If a player wants out because the ambitions aren't matched, then you don't need to be loyal to a club. And people calling him a snake, calling Cucurella a snake. I understand why Mark Cucurella left. I really, really do. He wants to be back in his home country. He wants to play in Spain. He wants to win silverware at a high level, wants to continuously be in the Champions League because that's where he feels he should be playing at all times. In the case of Enzo Fernandez, when you've already won silverware with your national team and you've won silverware with the club that you're currently at and you just want more, I don't consider him to be a snake. I consider that a player that just wants to be ambitious. If you had Ronaldo and Messi current to make a penalty to save your life, who am I trusting? I'm probably trusting Messi right now. That's a great question. I probably would prefer Messi right now. Even though I'm a Ronaldo guy, personally, I prefer Messi. As of right now, given what Messi can do for Argentina, given what he's able to create, Ronaldo nowadays is just seen as a poacher, as a center forward, a guy that is there to finish off chances. Messi can create, Messi can also get you the goal that you need to win games. And he's still a very important piece to what Argentina want to do in this World Cup. So if you're asking me, Messi or Ronaldo on at current age, who I want to take a penalty, it's Messi every single day of the week right now. But the topic of loyalty in clubs has been gone for a very long time, bro. I mean, we're long a ways away from the days of players staying at one club for 7, 8, 9, 10 seasons and then actually staying and riding out through all like the bad seasons. Just because Enzo has to go to Real Madrid and then wants to win silverware, be in the Champions League, and just wants to enhance his career, there's nothing wrong with him pushing for a move away and just saying like I want to win silverware. There's nothing wrong with that. And there's Chelsea fans out there calling him a snake. There's Chelsea fans out there that just don't rate the guy. But it's easier to replace Mark Cucurella when you already have that replacement already in Joao Hato. But it's harder to replace a profile of Enzo Fernandez because there's not a lot of those out there that can do what he does. You're not asking him to be physical. What's going on, bro? How you doing? Um, you're not asking him to be physical. You're not asking him to crunch into tackles and go break up play. You're asking him to be the deep line playmaker. Can you tell me hi and say my name? Lamaya Locklear, is that how you say your name? Hopefully I got that right and I didn't butcher that. But I mean, there's nothing wrong with the guy wanting to push away and win silverware. There's nothing wrong with that, man. And I feel like Chelsea fans really need to relax on actually disrespecting him because it's like, who are you going to replace him with right now? Because I've been making the argument that Bruno Guimaraes would be the perfect guy to do it, but Bruno Guimaraes is not going to be able to get around the pitch the same way that Enzo Fernandez does. He has a good passing range, he has a shot on him, he has good vision, he's dynamic enough to actually start a good counterattack. But when you're asking me who I'm replacing Enzo Hernandez with now, you're not finding a lot of those players out there. You're not replacing those goals and assists in a team in one season. Valentin Barco has potential. He has good passing. He looks like he could play left wing back as well if Xabi Alonso wants to play in the wing back system still. But we've also seen that he's not going to necessarily always play in a wing back system because I believe now you need to allow your club to get wingers into the squad and into a club nowadays because you can't continue to have attacking mid players and then have high possession. When Chelsea were winning silverware, when Chelsea were at the top of the table, what were they best at? They were best at the counterattack. You have wingers that get you the goals, that take a chance, will take a risk, take a shot, find the right pass, get the assist as well. That's what wins you titles. That's what wins you silverware. That's what gets you the major honors. But you're seeing too many teams nowadays want to revert to high possession, having the ball, dominate the ball, trying to pick a defense apart, and you can't continue doing that nowadays. You need to be able to hit teams on the counter, especially if you're not being dominant in the game. If you're being dominated in the game so much to the point where you're not even creating chances on like when you get possession, it's pointless to have attacking mids. You can have one attacking mid and two wingers and still go get yourself 2 or 3 goals in the game. Like that's what you can really do. But who are people replacing Enzo Fernandez with as of right now? It's very hard to replace those goals and assists given what he did last season. And this is why I'm asking people, is it really smart to sell him because of the money that you'll get for him, or do people because they feel like he's a snake? I don't feel like he's a snake. I feel like he just wants to be ambitious and wants to challenge himself at Chelsea and he's tired of it. I remember when he said one of the reasons why soccer is better than other sports. Yeah, bro, because they're actually doing that shit because Gianni Infantino, and I already know who's sending me that message, wants to add these ads in there and stuff like that. And it to be stupid, honestly. I really do. The attitude there. What's going on, Carnage? One of my favorite people just popped up into the stream, man. How we doing today? Yeah, they added water breaks, and it's like it's ridiculous, honestly. But it's like I said, like if people want to be ambitious and people want to challenge themselves, I don't find it to be an actual issue. But people want to talk about loyalty and all that extra shit. There's really no need for it. So I mean, at the end of the day, if he wants the move and he wants to go push his career onwards, there ain't nothing wrong with that. I don't find it to really be an issue. I really don't. But getting over to the NBA finals that happened a few days ago, bro, I mean, you want to talk about a young team that doesn't know how to close out games. I mean, San Antonio Spurs, soccer isn't better than other sports. What a ridiculous idea. I mean, it depends who you talk to, really. I mean, everyone has their favorite sport. Everyone has their preference, honestly. Like my preference is watching soccer overheating and stuff, man. It's like what, 85 degrees out here right now? The NBA is rigged. Do you think that the Spurs, not the Spurs, the Knicks won the finals because it's rigged? I don't know, man. I don't know. I mean, the Knicks, I mean, if you're coming back from 29 down, I don't know how rigged it really is. I mean, the San Antonio Spurs, bro. I mean, De'Aaron Fox out here shooting them out of the game. Victor Wembanyama can't even hit free throws to close out a game on the road. I mean, a lot of the calls the Knicks had, you can make the argument that it was a bit weird to get a few of those calls, but at the same time, if you're up 16, they were down in every game and they won. I mean, the Spurs are a young ass team, bro. I just don't think they are ready to like close out like any of those games. If you're up 29, man, in the second half and you don't figure out a way to close that game, I don't think it's rigged. I just think they absolutely choked all those leads, especially game 3 and 4. You're at home in one of those games and you absolutely and they lost 2 games at home. Like they lost essentially all the home games and they won 1 game on the road. You want to win a championship, you need to win on your home court. But they always say like the series doesn't start until the road team wins. The San Antonio Spurs were just not ready, bro. Victor Wembanyama was and Fox was essentially playing for the Knicks, bro. Like that's what actually happened here. You know, you can't really get on Harper too much because he was actually trying to keep them in the game. Castle was having a horrible game 5. I mean, the turnovers cost them. Probably poor coaching decisions as well is why they lost that series. I bet money on the Knicks with my coworkers, and I just won probably like 200-300 bucks off of that. So I had an idea of who was going to win the series because when you have veterans and dogs on that team, like Jalen Brunson, who at this point, man, Jalen Brunson is going to have this. They should replace the Statue of Liberty with Jalen Brunson, if I'm being honest with you. Like the man may go down as like the greatest Nick of all time, and like he deserves it. Absolutely. Absolutely does. I just don't understand how you're up, especially in game 4. I don't understand how you're up 29 and you don't close that out. Right? It wouldn't happen to any other team, in my opinion, outside of that Spurs team. Like De'Aaron Fox had a chance, dude, to run out the clock in game 4, and he decides to take a weird ass jump shot, and then he wants to sit there after the Knicks turn it over and try to lay the ball up. It like you don't do that. Veterans, players that have won championships, players that have been in that position are not going to sit here and try to do that. I wouldn't have done it. And if you're asking between the Spurs coach and the Knicks coach, Mike Brown over like Mitch Johnson, I think is his name. You're taking Mike Brown. Honestly, that's who you're honestly taking. But I also saw, because you fuck with hockey, right? It was the Hurricanes who won the Stanley Cup.
What are your thoughts on the Carolina Hurricanes, bro, winning the Stanley Cup? What's going on, bro? How you doing, my friend? I mean, a lot of sports is going on right now, bro. A lot of sports. World Cup, the Stanley Cup just ended. The New York Knicks won their NBA title for the first time in like what, almost was it 53 years, bro? I mean, it's exceptional, man. I mean, if there's one franchise that deserves to win an NBA title, it's probably them, you know? So we'll see if the Knicks go off and they repeat next season. I don't think they will. I think they make a deep run to try to defend their title, but I just don't see the Knicks winning it next season. I would want to know from people watching, like, who is your guys' favorite to win the NBA Finals next season? Like, I don't even know. Like, I want to see what trades happen, where Giannis goes, because Giannis is gonna get traded this offseason. It's been over and done with the Bucks, and we'll see where he goes. I saw earlier that he's doing everything he can to end up with the Miami Heat, but is that the best place for him? Can the Heat offer what the Bucks are looking for? We'll see what happens there. What's going on with you, Jeremy? You watching the World Cup or anything, bro? Just out here enjoying the hot California day, man. I mean, I imagine in like other parts of the US, bro, it's fucking burning up right now. The humidity, the dry heat, you know. It's gonna be very hot this summer, bro. Like, kind of glad I'm off today because I don't think I would be able to last at work right now, man. Like, I was at work a few days ago and it was like 95 degrees outside. Yep, watching the Belgian game. Who's still winning that game, by the way? Is is Egypt still winning that? The last game I watched was the Ivory Coast versus Ecuador. Ivory Coast, they score a goal in like the 90th minute. Diallo scores a goal. Um, and basically a pro Ecuadorian crowd in Philly gets absolutely silenced. It's 1-1 at the moment. Okay. I told my girlfriend's brother that that's probably a game that Egypt and Belgium draw in when I went to the sushi house with them on Friday when I was watching like the US game there. And like as a US fan, bro, I will say this, it was really nice to see them play the way that they played. I mean, they went 4-1. They look absolutely hold on, give me a second. They look absolutely like they look like they're gonna be on a mission, but I'm still holding my prediction that they go out in the round of 16. I do think that playing Paraguay and they don't really have a lot going forward. But even defensively, like they just don't look like they're going to be able to keep a lot of teams out. Maybe it's the U.S. Maybe it's just a hype of the first game. You're at home. It's a pro U.S. crowd. 86 minutes still 1-1 Belgium Egypt. Who scored for Belgium? I mean, the U.S. looked nice after one game, right? But then I saw Australia play Turkey the following day, and Turkey looked like they're gonna have a rough time. I'm not even gonna lie to you, bro. Australia looked pretty lethal on the counterattack. I'm not even gonna lie to you, bro. Like, and that's the US's next game on Friday. But the US have to be careful. I think with the way that Pochettino plays, and knowing this as a Chelsea fan, he does like the free flowing attacking style. So if Australia are strong, an OG from Egypt player gave Belgium's equalizer an own goal. Jesus Christ. I remember some dude from Egypt came in here and said that Egypt are going to win the World Cup, bro. Yeah, right. But if the US get caught on the counterattack, I think they will be in serious trouble. because Australia on the counterattack with those two brothers who were up top and were causing the Turkish back line fits. I think if the US gets caught in midfield and they keep on knocking the ball around the way they did against Paraguay, I think the US could be in trouble. But I do think that the US need to get the first goal and really pile the pressure on that Australian back line, even though they threw themselves at the ball a lot. Their goalkeeper, his third international cap, looked pretty good. Matt Ryan, who's who's been their starting goalkeeper for the longest time, ends up not starting in that game. And you're thinking, damn, what's Australia gonna do if they go down a goal? Is that gonna make him lose his confidence? Is that gonna force him to make a goalkeeping change? But he made himself look good. He looked pretty good, honestly. But Turkey, for honestly, for large parts of that game, had opportunities. They had a chance in the first half, a great shot from outside the box. But you're looking at a scenario where the goalkeeper saves it, and that was their best chance. Arda had a good chance. Even in the second half, the goalkeeper is making good save after good save after good save. One thing about the USA is the pace in their game. I think Pochettino has instilled that kind of belief, bro. I mean, being a Chelsea fan and seeing what he did, especially towards the end of his only season there, Chelsea were a completely different proposition to deal with, and that's when we saw the best version of Cole Palmer, right? So hopefully Christian Pulisic is ready to go for that game. Hopefully Balogun can get it going again because he looked exceptional. Gio Reyna came on, had that Trevella goal. I mean, they looked good. They were knocking the ball around. They were aggressive. They were decisive. And our back line, the only thing I worry about is Tim Ream and if he's able to withstand 90 minutes game in and game out. We understand his age. We also understand about Tim Ream that he's a leader back there. But what's going to happen when the US goes down 1-0? What's going to happen if they go down 2-0? Are they going to be able to regroup and get re-energized? We'll see what happens. This is why I love the World Cup, because you never really know what performances you're going to get out of these national teams. And this is why I keep on saying that soccer, football, whatever people want to call it in the States, outside of the States, it's one of those sports that if you have the patience to watch it, you're going to see some entertaining shit happen. The Netherlands and Japan game yesterday, it was an all right first half. Both teams had their chances, but once you get to the second half, this is where you start seeing the Netherlands actually doing what they should be doing. In Japan, is a kind of team that will sit back, wait for the mistake, and actually hit you on the counter. Japan's first goal is what you should be doing if you're a winger. Then after that, what you should be doing is, even though you're down, they kept on knocking on the door. They kept on putting pressure on Holland. And what happened? Great ball into the box. It's a header, comes off the Crystal Palace player. It's 2-2. That so far seems like it's the game of the tournament, but we'll see what happens. Spain drew 0-0. France plays tomorrow. Argentina play tomorrow. We still haven't seen England yet. We still haven't seen Portugal yet. So I'd be very interested to see how they get on in their first games. England, it's going to be interesting because you have Thomas Tuchel there, and a lot of questions were asked about, did he make the right team selection? What lineup is he going to go with? What attacking front three will he go with in the first game? Harry Kane, for me, he has a good tournament. England have a shot. If Bukayo Saka can actually figure it out and not just be so passive when he plays, and is actually aggressive and starts taking players on and tries to get in on the goals. Jude Bellingham, who's going to play out there on the left hand side, we don't know that yet. I'm happy that Cole Palmer is not there because he needs that rest in order to get ready for the Chelsea season. But if England have a bad start to this World Cup, people are going to ask questions. Where's Phil Foden? Where's Cole Palmer at, bro? Where are these two players that maybe could have helped out England's chances of actually going deeper in this tournament? France, is Mbappe gonna continue his dominance at the World Cup? See what happens, right? France have the best squad in the World Cup, but I don't think they get to another final. I think somebody is going to knock them out before the semifinals because I think they go out in the quarters. It's kind of wild to say that, but that's what I truly believe. I think getting to three straight World Cup finals is very difficult to do. It's very difficult because you never really know what's going to happen. You know, it'll be interesting to also see what Erling Haaland does with Norway to see if he's able to get goals in his first World Cup to see how far Norway go. I think Norway are a team that if they get off to a good start in the group stage, then you're looking at a scenario where they can pretty much beat anybody. If Erling Haaland gets on the score sheet in a game, you never know. But I'm not picking them to go far in this tournament. I think I predicted them to go out in the round of 32. But even then, like if Erling Haaland is Erling Haaland at Man City, Norway are going to be a tough out. I really do. But going back to the US, man, I mean, can they do the impossible? I don't think they will. Like I said, I still think the round of 16 is where they exit. But if they get out of the round of 16 and they get to a quarterfinal match, I mean, anything is possible, bro. Because at that point, I feel like as a host nation and as one of the host nations, playing on home soil is everything. And what people I think have to understand is generally the host nations do well. Qatar didn't do well in 2022. They got knocked out in the group stage. But even me, it's like you got Mexico who could do well. Honestly, they had a good performance against South Africa. Their next game is against South Korea. So we'll see how that game goes because I still have South Korea winning that group, but just, right? Because one thing about Mexico that I did like is that they took advantage of the stupidity that South Africa had. I see USA heading far at least as a quarterfinals. I would love that. I would, because I predicted them to go out in the round of 16. And as an American, bro, we haven't been to the quarterfinals since 2002. And you can make the argument if you've ever seen the highlights of USA versus Germany in 2002, it was a handball. If VAR was implemented back in 2002, we could be having a different conversation about who's heading to the semifinals that year because the final that year was Brazil versus Germany, right? So we'll see what happens. I mean, the quarterfinals for the US, I think, would be a huge accomplishment given the teams that are in this tournament, the European powerhouses, the South American powerhouses, right? But I just think if they run into a big team in the round of 16, I don't think their style of play is going to translate to a team that could be more ruthless on the counterattack. And if they have high possession and they don't get opportunities, I just find it very difficult. My concern about the US is their back line, right? Because even the first few minutes against Paraguay, like Paraguay had a few chances where if they get their foot on the ball, they could be down 1-0, 2-0, just like that. But they kept focus on what they needed to do. It's unfortunate that Paraguay concedes. You think the USA is a dark horse? Is that because they're the host nation, or do you really feel like my phone's overheating just a little bit, but we're back. Do you feel like the US is a dark horse because they're the host nation, or do you feel like they have the team to actually go deep in this tournament? I want to believe that they have the team to give any nation a scare, but I just think that there's better teams out there that can actually hit them on the counter and actually punish them for being so aggressive. I think the aggressive state of mind they have is good against teams like Paraguay, maybe good against Australia, maybe even good against Turkey. But if they go up against teams like France, if they go up against teams like Portugal, you know, even Spain, even though Spain don't have a striker, I think they can get punished. Or any of the African teams, like even like Brazil and Morocco, right? I think would punish the USA for playing so high up the pitch. I think that is a problem that later in the tournament you need to play a little bit more conservative conservative because you can't allow yourself to make mistakes. One mistake can dictate that entire game, right? But the US do have the attacking power in Pulisic and Balogun and even like a Weston McKennie, Timothy Weah. You have Emily Tillman. You have players in the squad that can actually do some damage. It's just a matter of if their midfield is going to be able to keep up with the French midfield, the Portuguese midfield, right? The Spanish midfield, right? The Argentinian midfield, right? Morocco, all these teams that can actually punish you and they set traps on you, right? If the US plays a team that can set traps and can hit you on the counter for playing too high, the US will get beat. Pochettino is a good coach, he's a good manager, but I think as you get deeper into this tournament, you need to figure out a way to switch up the tactics just a little bit, right? But I am happy with what I saw against Paraguay. Let's hope this continues against Australia, and let's hope this continues against Turkey next week because the US can win out the entire group and then they can have a decent round of 32 matchup. It's just a matter of who they play, right? If stuff goes their way and certain teams don't fall on their side of the bracket, anything is possible, man. And like I've said this, if the US get to a quarterfinal, man, I'll be happy with that. I'm not expecting them to win this World Cup, bro. I'm not. But you can't sit there and tell me that I'm not allowed to have a little bit of copium saying that, damn, bro, like if they play like this every single game and teams can't handle it, they could absolutely win this World Cup. I saw Chelsea last summer in the Club World Cup. Nobody picked them to beat PSG except for Chelsea fans. Even some Chelsea fans were like, you know what? Like, I don't think we'll beat this PSG team because PSG were just so dominant in 24-25 that you couldn't see anybody doing it. And Luis Enrique still says to this day the toughest team he's ever played against was Enzo Maresca's Chelsea, bro. It still is, right? PSG, I think next season are the clear-cut favorites to win the Champions League. Everyone stays put. Maybe they bring in a couple players. Maybe they even go invest in a center forward. They're going to be a very difficult team to play against. And I still think that, you know, r- you know, like if Jeremy, if you're still here, how are you feeling about Mark Cucurella going to Real Madrid? Is that a good move? Because I don't think we dropped the ball on selling him. I think it's a good thing that we sold him. We have a capable replacement in Joe Hata already. So I'm not looking at the left back position at all. Because with how he played, especially towards the end of the season, even though Chelsea were dog shit, I still like the fact that he stepped up when he needed to. And he gets forward and he's actually decisive with what he wants to do. Now, how are you feeling about Mark Cucurella, bro? Leaving Chelsea to transfer to Real Madrid. He's the same guy who said I'll cut my hair rather than play for them, and then he ends up signing a deal till 2032 with them. I do think that like I'm gonna stand firm on this, and you weren't here earlier. I was speaking on loyalty and about how players don't need to be loyal to. We need to back up the Hato. Who would you go get? I was speaking on loyalty and about how players don't need to be loyal to a club anymore. If the players' ambitions and the club's ambitions aren't being matched, Enzo has every right to dip out and just go chase what he wants. He isn't a snake, bro. And there's too many Chelsea fans out there saying that he's a snake. Sell him for fucking peanuts. You're not gonna sell Enzo Fernandez. I didn't like the idea of selling Cuckoo. Cuckoo, I wanted him to stay. I mean, he said like 2 or 3 days ago, like, I think he said I plan on staying. Like, I don't want to leave, and then he ends up leaving because when Real Madrid come knocking, bro, You're gonna find it very difficult to say no to that. You just will. Like, this is why Enzo Fernandez's head is turned. This is why players, when Real Madrid come knocking, bro, it's very hard to turn that down. You have his agent essentially at this point that's been talking to Real Madrid for the better part now of what, 2 months? Yeah, Enzo's head is already out. Enzo's head is already gone, bro. It's just a matter of what kind of fee are you getting from. I still think it's a 50-50 chance he stays because if Real Madrid don't pay the money and they're the only club that seem interested in him right now, and that doesn't mean you're a shit player. If Real Madrid are interested in you, they clearly see something in you. They clearly like the idea of having you at the club with the profile that he has. But I think it's still 50-50 that he stays. I think our owners are so greedy. If the given huge sum of money comes away, they will sell anyone. Yeah, and I agree with that. I think if they get something close to 100 million, you, I think if they get something close to about 100 million, bro, like they will sell. I've said between 80 and 90 million would get that job done, but still, you don't trust these owners to do anything. Enzo needs to leave. I mean, at this point, there's people that are saying he needs to leave. There's people that are saying that he needs to stay. I'm of the mindset that it's a 50 at this point, and I'm a big Enzo Fernandez fan. I'm a defender of him, but at this point, I think it's a 50-50 chance, bro. Because if Real Madrid don't come in and know the club is going to pay 120 million, he's going to end up staying. And I don't think it's the worst thing in the world if he stays. But if he leaves, you need to get the right replacement for him because you don't find profiles like his out there in the world right now. Given what he does for Argentina and given what he's done for Chelsea, you don't find those kind of profiles. It's going to be hard to replace those goals and assists he had this season and just sit here and say, oh, well, Barco is going to be that guy. Enzo wants out. Why keep an unhappy player? I'm not saying that we have to keep him. I'm saying that there's a possibility that he ends up staying because if Real Madrid don't pay the 120 or they don't come anywhere close to it, because Chelsea at this point don't seem like they're going to drop their asking price. Like Chelsea have every right to say, look, if you guys aren't going to pay 120 million, you guys need to either leave and come back with that offer or he's going to end up staying. And he's under contract at the end of the day. But I still think it's a 50-50 chance that he leaves and stays because 120 million is what they're asking for. I don't think they'll get it. I think it's going to be a fee between, like, I think you even said this fee 85 plus maybe 15 in add-ons, maybe even 25 in add-ons, because those add-ons would probably include Real Madrid winning the Champions League, winning the Spanish league, right? Him getting a certain goals and assists per season. That's going to trigger those clauses and in those add-ons. And when you're playing in La Liga where there's more space allotted to you, how about Arda Güler and 60 or 70 million for Enzo? What's Ar- what's his transfer value right now? Because I think Arda would probably go for what, 100, honestly. Like I've seen people, and I'll speak on Keenan Yildiz honestly after I see what you say. But Arda Güler, I watched him on Saturday night. He looks like a silky player, bro. I said I was gonna be paying attention to how he plays against Australia, and for a guy that's 21 years old, has already made 100 caps for him for or 100 something appearances for Real Madrid already. At his age, he looks like he's gonna be a baller, bro. And and if Chelsea are looking for a versatile attacker who can play on the wing but also play in the attacking mid role, Arda Güler would be one of the premier. And I wouldn't be upset if you do Arda Güler plus 60 to 70 million. Renzo. I wouldn't be upset because at that point you're getting somebody that looks like he's proven and he's ready to come to the Premier League and showcase his talent. Keenan Yildiz, on the other hand, he didn't even start for Turkey on Saturday. He comes on at the half, and in my opinion, he doesn't look like that 100 million player that everyone is raving about. He just doesn't. He doesn't look as decisive as as I thought. Maybe it's just one game and I need to see more of him at the World Cup. And admittingly, like I don't watch Juve as much as I should. If we're being linked with the player, I should be paying attention to what he does. But I still don't like the idea of paying crazy money for Keenan Yildiz, bro. I just don't like the idea because you don't know if he's gonna. Because I think with what he does, you need to be a bit more decisive in how you play. You need to be a bit more risky with how you play. He has a good shot on him. He has a good. He's good. He has decent passing. He can dribble. He's a bit more physical. That's cool. But whenever we get a player from Serie A, and we've seen this in the past, it never works out.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind either. West Ham can't be charging a crazy amount of money, bro. Not if you get relegated. Crescencio Somerville is a player that I feel like could fit in very well at Chelsea. He would have that left wing position on lock. On lock. I really believe that. So that's not a bad option. He scored yesterday, ran over to the bench. He celebrated. And it's great to see players like him, that can showcase his talents and that can showcase why he belongs at the international stage and at the World Cup stage. It really does. It means a lot, bro, to see stuff like that and to see that he wants it and that he wants to just be at the top. I heard the commentator say yesterday that he's a Champions League level player. And, you know, I might believe that because he played very well yesterday. It was a mistake to take him off because I feel like when he came off yesterday, the Dutch just looked completely different in attack. Cody Gakpo, I will say this. I think Cody Gakpo for me is just too inconsistent, bro. Too inconsistent. Crescencio Somerville, I think ultimately, and I know Cody Gakpo has won a Premier League. I understand that. He's been a Dutch international for a while, but I do believe he's a bit overhyped as a player. And I think Crescencio Somerville looks like a better outfit for a winger position than Cody Gakpo. Honestly, like I I like Crescencio. I think he's nice. When he was at Leeds, I thought he was good. Then he gets to move to West Ham and he has blossomed at West Ham in a West Ham team that was just atrocious all season. And they're unfortunate to have gone relegated. I would like to have seen Spurs get relegated, but that's 6 points that Chelsea won't have next season. So it's a good thing that they're in the Premier League. I saw some people say that Spurs may finish above Chelsea next season. It's not the wildest take because of the signings that Spurs have made over the past few weeks, but let's be real here. Spurs are not finishing above Chelsea at all next season. I don't see that happening. I think what could happen is they can be a few points off each other, but I don't think next season as they were this past season. I don't believe that. I think when you finish 10th, you have a lot more to prove than a team that's finished in the relegation zone, almost outside of the relegation zone, 2 straight seasons. I think Chelsea have a lot more to prove, given the amount of money they've spent, given the managers they've gone through, and the ineptitude that this ownership has shown. I think Chelsea have a lot more to prove. And you would hope that Alonso is actually given the right parts around him in order to actually say that they deserve to allow him to choose the players that he needs. Mark Cucurella is the first step in the money that you're bringing in to allow Alonso to bring in. Now, I'm getting tired of the reports that the board is going to allow Alonso to do this and that. Let's be real, man. Like I keep saying, until I see these players holding up the shirt, pen to paper, bro, I'm not believing anything I'm seeing. And we're still being linked with 18-year-olds. We're still being linked with all these young attacking mids, versatile attackers that if Chelsea want to get back to the top, they need to sign wingers, bro. Because Esteval is not going to be able to do it by himself. João Pedro is not going to be able to do it by himself. I think Cole Palmer will get back to his best next season, but
that left wing position is just a position that we have not been able to fill since Eden Hazard left. And you can say that like Christian Pulisic was probably the closest one to actually filling out that left wing position, but he wanted out because one, because of injuries, and two, I just feel like he wasn't consistent enough at the time. Now you're looking at a player that when he's gone to AC Milan has completely changed his career around, and he's found it a lot easier to play in Serie A than he does in the Premier League. And maybe that means that he's a Serie A style player rather than seeing him in the Premier League. I think the physicality of the Premier League was actually getting to Christian Pulisic a lot more than people realize. But now you're looking at a guy that he's obviously Captain America. He's the guy that, he's our hopes in winning a World Cup one day. And like I'm okay with that because I believe in this brother. And like when he came to Chelsea back in 2019, but he didn't play until the fall of 2019. It made me feel good to say, man, there's actually an American player at Chelsea that seems like he can actually do it. And when he held up the Champions League in 2021, it brought a tear to my eye, bro. Because it's like an American player is holding up the Champions League. Never thought I would see that day, you know. And I hope one day Chelsea are back in that position and they can hoist the Premier League. Like I'll be honest, I want the Premier League more than I want the Champions League. Like I've seen the Champions League won twice in 14 years with Chelsea, and I haven't seen them lift the Premier League title since 2017. Like we're going on now what our 10th season without lifting that trophy. I think if you ask Chelsea fans which title they prefer right now, it would be the Premier League. Absolutely that. It would have to be. Otherwise, it's like you guys, not you guys, but otherwise, it's like we know what this team will turn into, which is a cup team, and that's what Chelsea have been labeled as. Because even in a bad season, they will find their way to the odd FA Cup final or League Cup final, but they won't get it done because they're playing at Wembley, and they just don't play well at Wembley, bro. They just don't win at Wembley anymore, and it's really sad to see that because in the late 2000s, early 2010s, and even into the mid 2010s, Chelsea were winning the FA Cup at Wembley, having great performances. Like my favorite moment, probably at Wembley, was when Matic scored that goal against Spurs, and he's doing this shit. Like it's one of my favorite moments I've seen because even like the commentators, man, were beside themselves in that point. But yeah, I'm outside here at the parks, not too far away from where I live. We don't win because we don't have good players at the moment yet. The squad depth right now is very, very shaky. You're right, Jeremy. It's the squad depth right now isn't good. When you could only pluck out maybe 4 or 5 quality players in a squad, and then the rest of the team seems like it's deadwood, you're not gonna win anything. You're just not. And like the overabundance of talent or young talent we have in the squad that, in my opinion, aren't gonna make it at Chelsea because one, they're not afforded the opportunity because one bad game you won't see them again, and two, the scouting and the recruiting of this team in the department period has just been shambolic, and it's been shambolic for a while. Like this predates Blue Coat. This is probably what, a season and a half before that. Like after they won the Champions League, the recruitment was just poor. It starts with Lukaku, and then you go into the following season, and then the first season with Blueco, you're recruiting Koulibaly, who looked like he was past his prime at the time. Raheem Sterling, a guy that nobody really rates. You know, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, a guy that played well at Arsenal. I need a good attack like that at PSG, good center backs, a goalkeeper, and top center mid. Yeah, that's what Chelsea need. They need a left winger. They need a creative eight. They need, in my opinion, 2 center halves, a world class goalkeeper. Honestly, one that's commanding in the box, one that can actually dictate what's going on in front of him, one that's good with their feet. But if you're asking a goalkeeper to just be a shot stopper and a guy who can just command his box, then that's what I would prefer too. I think the problem that you're seeing nowadays is that a lot of teams want the goalkeeper to like use their feet more, and goalkeepers aren't supposed to be doing those kind of things. You can start attacks with them, but you don't have to play with your ball at the feet if you're a goalkeeper. You can also throw the ball out, punt it upfield, right? Don't make stupid decisions like you've seen Robert Sanchez do. Like we saw the game against Mexico, South Africa, where the goalkeeper looks nervous, looks timid, and he's playing the ball in into their teammates, and they're getting picked off for it. Can't continue. Can't. I mean, goalkeepers can't continue doing that, and like that's my frustration with goalkeepers nowadays. But the PSG attack is so lethal and so devastating because they find ways to interchange with each other and they pull apart back lines for fun, like for fun. And that's what Chelsea need. Like I would like to have João Pedro, and I've said Rafael Leao and Esteval as my front three. I think that would be very scary to go up against every single game. And speaking of João Pedro, we saw this Brazil game on Saturday. Igor Thiago, I mean, my God. My God, is he looking like an abomination already up top for Brazil? I mean, you have wingers like Vinicius Jr. and Rafinha, and you're over here not able to link up with them. You can't finish off chances. You look slow up top. You can't get in behind. You can't hold up the ball. And he just looks like a poacher. You got Brazilian legends up in the stands covering their eyes in horror, confused on what they're seeing. When I used to see R9 play, Ronaldinho, Kaká, right? Those kind of players playing in attack, I knew exactly what I was getting. You know, taking a chance, taking a risk, great passing in between them, can score a goal, all that stuff. But at the end of the day, bro, it's like Brazil just aren't the same. Esteval's still young. I still lack faith in him to step up every game and produce what we need. Well, yeah, he's a young player, right? And we ran him into the ground this season because he was our best winger. And when your best winger is 18 years old, and honestly, your best and your most dangerous attacker looks like he's 18 years old, and he gets injured because he's being ran into the ground, it's gonna be hard, man. It's gonna be hard. But he is still young, and I have faith in him because the guy has potential to be great. He really, really does. I'm not saying he's gonna be better than Ronaldinho, Ronaldo, or even Neymar. But when you're being mentioned in the same breath as them as being one of the next great Brazilian talents to come out of that country, I think we do need to be patient and we do need to pay attention to that, right? You're not getting endorsed like that if you don't have it, right? I mean, he does need to work on a few things, in my opinion. It would be his temperament. It would probably be knowing when to dribble and knowing when not to dribble. I mean, I want my winger to have the IQ of knowing when it's right to drive past fullbacks, to play in a ball to your center forward, when to track back, right? And if I'm looking for Esteval to be that creative goal scorer, then you need to be patient with him because he's not going to be able to step up every single game and produce. He's 18 years old. If he was 24, 25 years old in the prime of his career, then you could be asking questions about what's taking him so long to get to that level. But he's 18 years old. His first season in the Premier League wasn't bad at all. He really, really wasn't. But I see what you're saying, bro, about, you know, having needing him to step up every game, but I just feel like you need to give him that patience and let him figure that part out because if you rush him and you sit here and you just expect him to score 20 goals a season, that's not realistic right now. He needs players around him in order to get those goals, right? You have João Pedro. I do feel like Cole Palmer at some point will get back to his best. You still have Moises Caicedo, and then you need to get a left winger that can actually do something, and then you need to have a good structured midfield around Moises Caicedo. I'm not mentioning Enzo because Enzo could be sold, but in the hypothetical way that he stays, you got Enzo and Caicedo. In my opinion, you need to go get a number 6, a guy that'll just sit in front of that back line because I think Caicedo eventually should be pushed up into that 8 role, the box to box role. Now, he didn't have the greatest game yesterday against the Ivory Coast, but we know what to expect out of him. We know that he's not how he performed yesterday. I believe Ecuador yesterday were just so caught up in the moment. They were flying into tackles, they were aggressive, they were unlucky to hit the bar a few times. I mean, these are the things I'm talking about here. It's the fine margins that dictate whether or not you win games. Realistically, if we want to challenge for major honors, major trophies, we need to impact in every position. We do. I think the left wing position is one of the most important positions we need to fill out, on top of another creative 8, a number 6, and 2 center halves, and a goalkeeper. If we want to be taken serious again and we really want to get back to the top where I really feel like we need to win a Premier League title, honestly, in the next 4 or 5 seasons, which, you know, when you spend close to £2 billion and your best finish is 4th, you need to have a conversation about what the hell is going on. At one point, Chelsea were as high as 2nd. In the game against Brentford last season, they had a chance to go top of the table. What would that have done to their confidence if they were top of the table? You know, would they have held on? Would they have found a way to capitulate that? It was really the second part because they capitulated so bad this past season that they finished 10th and they could have finished as low as 14th, right? So, I mean, the fact that Chelsea aren't in Europe next season is going to help immensely because I think they need to focus on being consistent in the league, man. You get consistency in the league, then the other things will follow suit. The other trophies will follow suit. But being consistent in the league, bro, is something that this team has lacked for a very long time. And this predates Blueco, bro. This predates Chelsea winning the Champions League in 2021. Frank Lampard's first season, I remember losses to West Ham, Bournemouth, Southampton, all at home, right? Chelsea have had weird results at the bridge for the longest time, bro. It's not just since Blueco have taken over. It's been for the longest time. And like this is where like people I think need to start paying attention to the home form. Like it hasn't been good in a very long time. The only time you saw it be very good was Enzo Maresca's first season and when Thomas Tuchel was there. That's really it. That's honestly it. But they've had weird results, bro, at home for the longest time, man. And it's like Stamford Bridge used to be a place that teams didn't want to come to, and Chelsea would always find a way to eke out a result or rip teams apart. Now Stamford Bridge is turning into a happy hunting ground for a lot of teams, except for Tottenham. But it's turned into a happy hunting ground, bro, for a lot of teams. Forest went there and won. You know, Brighton went there and won. Man City have done it numerous times. Manchester United just did it. Newcastle did it. You know, a lot of teams came to the bridge this past season and absolutely gave us a new one. But I have to believe that the home form at some point will turn around because I just think the fans are tired of seeing weird results at the bridge, man. I really do. Oh man. About 2:32 out here. I was up pretty late last night. I only got like an hour of sleep. Unfortunately. I mean, but you know, tonight I'll definitely be sleeping like crazy, bro. I mean, the World Cup's keeping me up, honestly. I'm thinking about that a lot. I think Blue Co killed our DNA. They brought this Man City copy model and style of play that is making us suffer. We used to play on counterattacks, and that's how Chelsea need to be playing, bro, is on the counter. Like, if Chelsea were playing on the counter with the players we do have, we're definitely a different team to play against. I mean, that's how we won the Champions League in 2021. That's how we beat PSG in the Club World Cup final. Like when we play on the counter attack and we hit teams high up the field or in midfield, it's a different team. And this is why I'm stressing that Cole Palmer needs to figure it out because he's the key and why we were so good on the counterattack under Enzo Maresca. And even some parts under Pochettino, and hopefully Xabi Alonso, he does understand that I may not have the players to play this high possession style of football, but if we, give up a possession and we have 38-40% of the ball, we allow the teams to try to break us down because one of his things is he wants to be defensively sound and structurally defensively, they need to be structured and disciplined. That's one of the reasons why Leverkusen went undefeated in their invincible season in the league was because defensively they were great. Then they hit teams on the counter all the time. This is why you saw Florian Wirtz move for a record deal. This is why you saw players like Victor what's his name? A Boniface end up being one of the killer strikers in Europe that season. Grimaldo and Firpong were elite double-digit goals and I think assists that season too as wingbacks. That's something that you don't see a lot of in today's game. The wingbacks getting double-digit goals and assists. That's something that I feel like is very, very, very underrated about. If you have wingbacks that do that, you're gonna win a league. You're gonna win a European title. You're gonna win trophies. But to sit there and copy the Man City style of play and then try to have the Brighton model, you're asking to be mid-table. You really are. And that's where Chelsea finished, 10th in the Premier League, which is exactly in the middle. And they're playing like a mid-table team. They were playing like it. So we'll see if Xabi Alonso can actually try to figure that part out. Honestly. I hope he does because I want this guy to succeed and bring my club back to the promised land, bro. I really do. But to speak on the World Cup a little bit, you know, one of my gripes, I'm glad you trust him. I trust him too. I trust that he's gonna be able to figure it out, but it's on the ownership, bro. It's on the ownership to relinquish that kind of control, and they haven't shown that they will. But getting back to the World Cup, one of my gripes with the World Cup, and one of the people that's been coming into my chat recently brought it up, is that what are all these hydration breaks for? Why are we cutting away to all these commercials and all these ads, bro? Like, why are we doing that? The great thing about the Spanish channel is that they've said it on the broadcast that they're not gonna cut away and show ads and anything to benefit FIFA. Like, they're in it for themselves and they want to show what's going on the sidelines. If you're gonna take these hydration breaks, it should be honestly where the hot humidity and where the hot weather really is. When you're taking hydration breaks in essentially a dome in a enclosed stadium, you don't need hydration breaks. And I feel like it's honestly turned a lot of the games around. How many times have we seen a team dominate the first half and then we go into halftime and in the second half tactics change and the game is completely different. They're trying to treat this like a four-quarter style of game where you have the first quarter, you take that timeout. The second quarter, you get into halftime. The third quarter, and it's like that's not what this sport is supposed to be. That's one of my major gripes, and it's also like the pricing of these games. is absolutely like astronomically stupid, bro. Honestly. It really is. Football is treated like basketball. Yeah, it's being treated like basketball and American football right now, bro. With all these timeouts and all these like, ads you're seeing and shit. It's like it's such a disservice to the actual football fan out there that wants to watch 45 minutes straight of what is gonna happen. Because football, bro, is like chess. It's all about strategy. How are you gonna break down your opponent? And when you have these tactical timeouts and you have these hydration breaks, it's not good for the sport. Yeah, probably see goals after this, but it's like I don't like the stoppages in play. Like I really don't. I think it's moving more towards like even in like youth football, bro. Like, you have 4 quarters. When I started playing and stuff like that, you had 4 quarters, and then you had halftime, and then you had the other 2 quarters, like, that's not how I grew up watching it and how I grew up playing it. Once you got to the higher age levels, like U11, U12, U13, then you get to the state level, the national level, even the regional level, it was all whatever whatever minute halves you had, and that was exactly what you played. Once I got to high school and then I started playing that, it was what 40-minute halves. It's boring, but some teams are favorites in such situations. Yeah. I mean, we saw Australia twice a few days ago get a goal almost directly after the hydration break, bro. Like as much as I enjoyed the first Australia goal, I feel like if you don't take that hydration break to allow the managers to tactically change things up, then they're probably not scoring that goal. But at the same time, Turkey just looked like they had no idea how to break down Australia whatsoever. You could still be playing that game right now, and they would not have found a way to score. Arda Güler is over here taking shots from outside the box and he's skying them, but it's like I don't blame him for shooting because he was trying to do something out there. He really was. 40. I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to be doing here now. I've been streaming for a little over an hour. Um, Australia was playing a low block. That's Chelsea's problem too. Yeah, I mean, Turkey can't break down a low block, and Australia was really giving them fits with how they set up. They set up in a back five with four in front of them and one up top, but in transition they had two up top with what was it? It was like a 3-4-1-2 essentially. And the wing backs for Australia, particularly on the right hand side, were giving Turkey fits on the counter attack, man. And this is what I'm saying if we're going back to Chelsea is like if they're gonna play in a wingback system where they're trying to break teams down, then they're gonna find it very difficult. This is why you need wingers rather than fullbacks or wingbacks in your squad. Say Chelsea go off and they go sign a Grimaldo, right? By trade, he's a wingback, but he can also play at that left back position. But I don't want to see wingbacks in this Xabi Alonso setup. Honestly, I really don't. I want to see wingers. I want to see a midfield three and wingers. That's what I want to see. And if you're gonna have Cole Palmer in that midfield three, he's the attacking mid, and you have two solid eights. Th- That's what you honestly need. One creative eight and one defensive 8/6 that can actually break play up. We have that in Moises Caicedo right now, but again,
I'm looking at a scenario where I'd rather see Caicedo play as the 8 than see him play as a 6. For the longevity of his career, he needs to be a box-to-box player because he's gonna get burnt out. Yeah, man. It's been a pretty good stream, I ain't gonna lie, man. I mean, the engagement's cool. Jeremy, you're always one of those guys that comes up in here and just like talks ball. What you saying is logic. I saw Brazil struggling too. What was the problem? With the problem with Brazil is that they were unbalanced, right? Igor Thiago is not a center forward that's going to link up with Benny Jr. or Rafinha. And when you have Casemiro and Bruno Guimaraes as your two midfield players, and Paqueta is not a number 8. He's a number 10, bro. And I feel like if you're gonna have Paqueta, Bruno Guimaraes, and Casemiro in your midfield, you need to have a better balance of who's struggling up on who's up top. And it's like I keep saying, this is why, like, I was so annoyed when João Pedro was left out of the squad, bro, because it's like João Pedro would have been the perfect striker for this Brazil team. And like it's why I keep saying like why did they include Neymar in the squad? Even though he didn't play, you're gonna see very quickly what Neymar's issues are when he gets on the pitch. And then the center halves, Marquinhos and Gabriel, they don't have that cohesion. Yes, they speak the same language. Yes, they play in 2 top 5 leagues, but again, they don't have the cohesion and the familiarity of playing with each other day in, day out. And how did Morocco score their goal? A ball over the top, the center halves are split, and they score that goal, a beautiful chip over Allison, and it's like Brazil just look unbalanced, right? There may be too many attackers and not enough midfield generals in the squad. Number 6 is in their squad, and Casemiro's getting older. He's a reckless player at the end of the day. He's gonna throw his body in there. He's gonna make those challenges that make you scratch your head, and he may end up, getting sent off in one of these games that Brazil absolutely need him. So Brazil's problem and Carlo Ancelotti's problem, and he needs to figure it out very quickly, is he needs to find the right balance in their squad. And this is why João Pedro would have been immense in the squad. Vinny couldn't beat Hakimi besides the goal because Hakimi is a great fullback. He's a great wingback and he's a great fullback. He plays both sides of the ball. The thing I will say about Vinny under Carlo Ancelotti is he's the only player in that Brazilian team that knows what Carlo wants. And it's like I said, Brazil's starting 11 in that game was incredibly unbalanced, bro. Paqueta shouldn't even be starting if you have a midfield of Bruno Guimaraes and Casemiro. Casemiro doesn't have the same legs anymore, and Bruno Guimaraes is not a player who is going to cover spaces. He's a ball playing central midfield player. And if you're going to have a player like that in your midfield and Lucas Paqueta in the same midfield, you need a defensive midfield player that can actually cover space and destroy passages of play. Like that's what you need. And Casemiro is not that same player anymore. If this was Casemiro when he was at Madrid in his prime, you could be making a different argument. But I think he's what now, 35, 36. He's not going to cover like the same blades of grass anymore. He just isn't. But I think Brazil's hopes right now is resting on Vinny Jr. I really do. That Brazil team is not as pacey as the USA. I think if the United States plays Brazil at any point, I would pick the United States right now.
Yes, they have tricky wingers. Yes, they have, good center halves, a decent goalkeeper, decent fullbacks, but I think the US would give them fits, especially on the counterattack because Brazil will have a lot more of the ball, and I do feel like the United States would hit them on the counter at least a couple times. Like, I'm not scared of playing Brazil, honestly. Like, I wouldn't mind playing them in the knockout rounds. I really wouldn't because I think they would struggle against a team that would hound you and hit you on the counter. And Morocco, yes, they had good possession, but they also set traps to where they won the ball in certain areas and they were causing Brazil's back line a whole bunch of issues, bro. A whole bunch of issues, right? Gabriel, again, I'm gonna keep saying this, great center half, but he's a shithouser, bro. He really, really is. He's a shithouser type of player that if you touch him, he goes down. But it's like you can't keep doing that in games of this magnitude. Yes, it's a group stage, but anybody who is Brazilian will tell you they have high expectations to win the World Cup every single time that they're in it. It's been 24 years since they won their last World Cup. That's what, six iterations: 2006, 2010, 14, 18, 2022. And now 2026, that's 6 iterations of the World Cup where they may not win it. Gabriel is overrated. I wouldn't say he's overrated. I think I would you say that overhyped is a better word for him because of how he plays the center half position? Because recently he has been making a lot more mistakes, and people and Arsenal fans may never for him skying the penalty, but my argument against that is that why isn't Noni Madueke taking that fifth penalty, right? But Gabriel is the kind of player that I think that when you have a partnership of him and Saliba, his mistakes are going to be covered a lot more because you have a center half that can track back, that's physical, that is commanding, and with Marquinhos, he's a leader, but this isn't the Marquinhos of 6 or 7 years ago, who can also shift up into midfield. This is a Marquinhos who's older, wiser, and has more experience, but he's not as commanding in the air anymore. He's not as physical anymore. He's not as overpowering as he used to be. And I think Gabriel needs a center half partner that can cover blades of grass and that can also cover his mistakes. So I would say he's overhyped, but overrated. I think he's where he's rated at now. I think is fair because he is a good player. I hate Arsenal, but I think he is one of their better players they have on their team. And if you take Gabriel out of that Arsenal team, I think Arsenal concede a lot more goals. Who do I think is the favorite for this World Cup? Well, actually, bro, I predicted Spain would win this World Cup, but given what I've seen so far, I'd probably say after all the games I've seen so far, and there's still a few more that have to kick off, I would probably say, unfortunately, I would probably have to say Germany based off of what they did yesterday, but they played Curacao yesterday, and like that's not really telling me much about them. I don't want to say the United States. I do think they can make a decent run if the matchups are favorable for them. I want to see how France plays. I want to see how Argentina does get on. I do want to see how England also play in this tournament. But as of right now, I might still stick with Spain, even though they drew to Cape Verde today. But my Spain pick isn't looking too good, and not even my Brazil pick of them getting to a final is looking too good right now. But if I'm going off of all the teams, even if they haven't played, I think the favorite is probably between France and maybe Argentina right now. Because I still have this belief that Germany is going to find a way to capitulate at some point in this tournament. And I think Spain, if they can't convert their chances and they can't even break down Cape Verde, I think they could exit early. I just think a lack of a center forward for Spain is going to be their downfall. Portugal, who I haven't mentioned yet, may have the best midfield in the tournament, but I think when you're relying on a 40-something-year-old Cristiano Ronaldo, I think you're asking a little bit too much from him. I would love to see Portugal lift the World Cup because then it would bring them level with Messi, honestly. And I think as of right now, Messi has taken that one spot as being the greatest player of all time because he has that World Cup on his resume and the Copa America on his resume too. Ronaldo has a European Championship, but he got subbed out early in that game in 2016. So we'll see what happens. Who's your favorite right now? The USA is your favorite right now, bro? Hey, let's go. I like that. I'll tell you this: if the USA win the World Cup, bro, I will absolutely cry. It would be bigger and I love Chelsea to death, bro. Like I really do. But if the United States finds a way to win the World Cup, it'll be one of the greatest things I've ever seen in my life. Honestly. As much as I love this sport, to see the US win the World Cup would be spectacular. Spectacular, man. I mean, it would eclipse when the US beat Russia in the Olympics in the 1980s. It would eclipse even the New York Knicks just winning their NBA championship. The United States wins the World Cup. Like I can't even put that in the same sentence, bro. Like that would be insane. It would honestly be one of the greatest things I've ever seen in my life if that happens. But is it realistic? No, but I'm allowed to dream. I'm allowed to dream. I would love to see them hoisting up that gold trophy, bro. It would mean everything. Everything. And then I think Americans would actually turn their head like, wait a minute, the men's team won it? Because the women's team has won their share of World Cups. One of my favorite players on the women's side is Alex Morgan, bro. Alex Morgan was a baller, bro. A baller. Like one of the greatest American players, not just on the women's side, greatest American players that we've ever seen. You know, in this generation of the US team now, on the men's side and women's side, it has great potential, bro. Like one of my favorite players right now on the women's team is Alyssa Thompson, and she plays for Chelsea anyway. So that would be great to see her win that and to see the US win it. It would be amazing. It would be amazing, bro. But I've seen the US women's team win the World Cup a few times. I just want to see the men's side do it, bro. It would mean so much if they do it. So much, man. You have no idea. We get maligned for not being a serious nation when it comes to this sport because of the other major sports you see, but it would mean something. It would be one of the greatest accomplishments in US history. Probably the greatest accomplishment in terms of sports in US history, bro. It really would. And to put it in terms of what it means is like it would be like if I would probably say it'd be similar to when Leicester City won the Premier League back in 2015-16, because nobody expects them to win it. Nobody expected them to even have a shot. But if they get the if they get the right matchups and they play the way they're playing, the US absolutely have a shot. But it's one game. I want to see what they do against Australia. I want to see what they do against Turkey. If they can show me the same kind of prowess they showed against those two teams, we'll probably have a conversation once we get to like the round of 32. It's been about almost an hour and a half I've been streaming. It's been pretty good, man. Um, well, Jeremy, I'm gonna get on out of here, bro. I need to keep my phone at a good percentage, honestly. It's been draining a little bit, but I'll probably be on tomorrow before I head to work. Probably on like my phone again. Um, the phone streams have been really nice. I actually do enjoy doing them a bit more than the ones on like my laptop, even though I'm able to do a little bit more. What's your take on him right here? I haven't seen him play, bro. I'll be honest, I haven't seen this brother play at all. I know we're linked with him, and I know he has some serious talent, but again, I want to see experienced players, man. Come to Chelsea. I really do. Like I'm getting tired of the being linked with 18-year-olds and all that stuff, man. Like I want to be able to see experienced proven players come to the squad and elevate. You know, if you're signing experienced players and then you want to bring in a couple kids, I don't mind. But I want to see experienced players come through the door first before we start looking at young players again. Like I really do. For Chelsea to get back to the top, they need experience, bro. He is a Chelsea fan. I mean, that's great. I'm glad that he is a Chelsea fan. Up to Chelsea, bro. Honestly, but again, I want to see this team go for experience before we go grab any of these like young kids again. You can't keep hoarding talent and then we end up 10th again. Like I can't do another season where Chelsea finished 10th. He smashed it against Brazil, to be honest. He looked great. That's good. I mean, I know who you're talking about. I saw him, like, I haven't seen enough of him, but in Morocco's next game, I'll definitely be keeping a close eye on him to see like what he can actually do. But I want to see him do it for a few more games. I want to see him actually take this tournament by storm, and I'll take a look at him after I'm off stream to see what he can do, honestly. But I'm gonna get on out of here, bro. I need to get my phone charged up. I'm probably gonna head to my sister's house and go see how she's doing. Go see my family. Go see my niece. But I appreciate you, Jeremy, being in the chat for this long. Thank you for taking time out of your day to holler, to talk to me and shit. It means a lot. I'll probably be on stream tomorrow, bro. Before I go to work or maybe even during like my lunch. So if you're around and you want to come chop it up again, I'll be here, bro. But I'm Jason. Don't filter chills. It's nice speaking to you, my guy. Hey, man, I appreciate speaking to you. I appreciate your commitment and you being here for a lot of my streams. It means a lot. It shows consistency on your end, and you enjoy just talking ball. And that's all I'm here for. I'm not here to talk about any kind of negativity or anything like that, man. Big up the Chelsea. Keep the blue flag flying high, bro. Blue co out. And all those Chelsea YouTubers out there, bro, you will be seeing me a lot more on this platform, and we will be having conversations from the American perspective and the American end, bro, about how it feels to be a Chelsea fan on this side of the pond. But again, I'm Jason. No filter Chelsea. Drop a like, comment, sub, do all that cool stuff. Share the stream. Get your friends involved. Get the Chelsea community to understand that there's somebody out here in America that actually knows his ball. But yeah, I'm Jason No Filter Chelsea, and I will let everybody know that you said what's up, man.